'cause Daddy's recording.
Let's get the cans on. All right. It's all about music lately. Let's strike this chord. What happens when a 60-something working-class artist is deported because he can't afford to live where he works? This is his adventure and metanoia of escaping the greedy, gentrified metropolis into the loving arms of paradise. Welcome to Hollywood in Hollywild. I am the king of wishful thinking, and this is the 6th episode of the podcast series Hollywood and Hollywild, titled Talks with Animals. People are spoiled by language. We think talking separates us from animals, and that because animals can't talk like us, they have little to say. All animals communicate. They just don't communicate like people. Many of us talk at animals, but do we really listen? And what about wild animals? Is it possible to have a relationship with them? Indigenous peoples did, and still do. Is that magic? Certainly feels like it to me. Can it be taught? I'm an autodidact, and I learned. The First Nations embraced their environment, and as a result, lived in balance with all of nature. Is it a pretty balance? Not always. But the magic is there, in the ugly and the beautiful. My mother saw me as a sensitive child, but now I know that I'm someone who is patient enough to wait and watch for the cues of unspoken language, behavior, body language, speed of movement. It's not really sensitive, it's listening without talking, listening with the eyes and that sense of honest connection with the other, not yourself, with all your problems and personal beliefs and none of that is interesting to an animal that just wants to experience some momentary companionship with the most dangerous animal on the planet. Man. I realized early in my life that people are often contradictory. They lie. So, from a young age, I gravitated to animals. Animals are always honest. And because I listened, animals conversed with me. I slowly learned to respond with appropriate behavior. When I saw an animal that was scared or unsure, I wouldn't scrutinize them because when an animal stares, it's a predatory action. It's the same reason we don't like to be stared at. I learned to show trust with animals by turning my back or closing my eyes slowly while still facing them. This is a show of trust and means specifically that you're not feeling predatory. I also learned to never rush animals. Predators rush when they kill, and prey rushes to escape. Neither are conversational moments. If you're always in a hurry, you probably shouldn't even have a hamster, let alone a dog. Watching the natural world is endlessly entertaining, but looking was never enough for me as a child. I wanted interaction and a deeper connection. And what I learned is that animals, unlike humans, seek friends they can ignore safely without offense. Animals only start friendships if they can ignore you comfortably. Remember, animals are incapable of lies, which makes trust the most valuable commodity of nature. When I moved to the country, I made a decision to live with nature, not on it. I was not interested in, terraforming my land into an ordered place with curbs and manicured lawns requiring loads of water and a weekly gardener to beat it into the confines of a picket fence. I refused to use insecticides just because an insect might annoy or bite, and I refused to chase animals away because they might carry disease or attack. In short, when I moved here, I resolved to not kill anything, not even an ant or a wasp. And I have been enormously successful. And this respect has really paid off. I haven't been bitten once. I've never been attacked or threatened by anything in this place that is home to animals which some could easily see me as food. In fact, I have some predatory animals visit me that many locals never see. This may seem magical, but it's grounded in common sense and respect. Hang on a second. Hang on. Hang on a second. Stop. I got to tell you. Come on, seriously? I gotta say this about common sense and respect. When I was a kid in the 50s, everybody pretty much taught us common sense. Even the guy down the street in front of the barber shop, he'd point out something to kids when he saw, hey, it's not using common sense. If you figure out where that goes and what that does down the line, you wouldn't do that because you don't want to do that, And the kids would have listened because everybody was taught respect. And the bottom line with respect and respect for nature and respect for people is that you got to believe in the best part of humanity when you meet somebody you don't know. And if that's the person that you talk to when you interact, that eventually is going to be the person that we all end up being. And when I was a kid, we used to respect each other a lot more, and we don't now because we assume that we're being sold something or we're being lied to. And, the truth of the matter is most of us who see each other on a regular basis from day to day, we should all have a lot more respect for each other, and we're probably all more deserving of it because we don't lie to each other. We live with each other. And that's basically, that's all I'm going to say. For example, just after moving in, I watched as a coyote ambled through the meadow and stopped on a massive outcropping of bedrock that pokes through the dirt about 50 feet away from my observation platform, or what most people refer to as a porch. The coyote paused to listen and scan the area. I realized quickly he was a scout. Coyotes send out scouts to different parts of their territory to collect information on all the animals they can hunt at night when they have the upper hand and numbers. Some people up here just shoot them, but I'm not some people. I calmly greeted him and complimented him on his handsome coat. He looked as though he stepped out of a Disney movie set, exiting the makeup room for the next shot in some epic nature film. And he knew he looked good, groomed, And because my voice was calm and I was sincere in my compliments and respectful, he stayed for conversation. He didn't go running off. And I introduced myself as his new neighbor, and I explained that I was creating a safe space for people and animals. And I added that I would allow no hunting on my little piece of heaven here. And his ears perked up, and he looked at me kind of quizzically. And I got specific. I was like, this is a haven for all, not just for the turkeys and the deer, but for you as well. If you're being chased by one of my human neighbors, you come run to me and you'll be safe. I will protect you just as I would a rabbit or a squirrel. Now, the coyote was visibly taken back by, all my honesty and my, respect for life and all that. And he looked me in the eyes as if he just couldn't believe what I said. And after a long moment, he just kind of bowed his head down lower and kind of bowed it to me. And then he started down the path towards my neighbor's house, who has 2 giant huskies who are off the leash. And I was like, wait. I said, don't go down that path now. The dogs will run you down, and they're nearly twice your size. I was like, go through my other neighbor's property, follow, them down to the stream. And he stopped and turned. And then he looked me in the eye again, and he trotted off in the direction I suggested. Now, my coyote friend travels with his pack late at night to within feet of my back fence, but his hunting party never comes on my property, except to maybe drink from the seasonal creek or to rest and avoid any of my trigger-happy human neighbors. Okay, another example. Last summer, my house attracted a number of wasps that can only be described as a swarm. I would find 2 or 6 of them at the windows trying desperately to get out of my house to return to the hive, and I'd carefully catch them one by one with huge balls of toilet paper, gently holding them and keeping myself safe, yet not damaging their wings or legs, and then quickly walking outside and releasing them. I couldn't find their nest. I looked all over, but I knew it was close, and it was probably huge. So one day, I had to go onto the roof to fix something, and I discovered the wasps had moved into my stove vent. And I realized that if I turned on my oven, they'd be killed. I'd have dead wasps everywhere. And the thought made me, sick, And I would never call a pest service to come and unfairly poison them. After all, they're just trying to survive, and that is no reason to kill anything. So, I casually walked into the swarm of, 2,000-3,000 wasps flying in and out of this vent and struck up a conversation, like I would with a neighbor, over a fence. Now, this was my first experience communicating with a hive mind, and it was much easier than I imagined. I addressed them all as one person. I knew there was a queen, so I said they needed to deliver this message to her, because she was busy, obviously, very busy. And the message was that they thought that they'd found the perfect home, but, it wasn't. If I turned on my stove, they would all die, and I told them it would break my heart. I promised I wouldn't use my stove for 2 weeks, because, I know how hard it is to find the right place to live. It took me 3 years to find this. So, and then I thanked them, and I wished them luck on their search. And then I just closed my eyes slowly, calmly turned my back, and then climbed off the roof. So anyway, 2 days later, when I returned to the roof to finish my repairs, because I got the part, gone. Poof. This type of unbelievable scenario happens to me all the time up here, and it's not unusual anymore, because I'm living with nature, not against it. It's like the door opened. The magic that is nature is about collaboration, and that all the animals instinctually work for the good of the whole, making every part of the system vital and irreplaceable. Communication is not about talking at, it's about listening to. It is a collaboration of sincere respect and honor, and it makes all of us one family of life. If you act like nature, will you get what you want? No. Maybe. Who knows? Life is fickle. Will your perspective be altered? Yes. Yes, it will. Let me know if you like this, and don't forget to check out our website, where you'll find archived episodes of this podcast, as well as our radio show, Hollywood and Hollywild Radio, broadcast from beautiful downtown Mariposa, California, in the Sierra Nevadas, from kryzradio.org. I'm Dave Thomas, and this show was only possible because of the collaborations made by the following inspiring artists: Mr. Joe Rudd for the open and close music, Mr. Eric Skirmahorn for his insight into the guitar, and Mr. Simon Cole for his valuable perspective. And of course, I gotta give props and thanks to you for swinging by and giving me a listen. That was good. I like talks with you.